Seems like all good content starts out with some coffee. All right, what I want to do is share with you the last couple of weeks of coming to the game and kind of, it's not really a full-on behind the scenes. I'll give you that next week for the 11 a.m. LSU game. We'll bring cameras, make a video, kind of vlog behind the scenes. But I'm going to share with you some photos. But we got the first 2 weeks of the football season behind us, and I took cameras along and walking around, taking some pictures, street type photography in the tailgating scene in week 1 and then this week in the press box. So I thought I'd share some of those with you here and kind of tell you what I think about these particular photos.
What people don't understand is all that marketing stuff.
I saw this guy walking outside the south end of the stadium, and when I saw the hat, the hot dog hat, number one, my first thought was, where did I get one of those? And then number two, I knew I had to snap a photo real quick, and he was a good sport about it. He knew I was taking his picture, and he didn't pose for the camera, but he just looked right at it and gave me some eye contact, and it was cool with it. It looked like he was headed somewhere in a hurry. I will say, too, sort of disclaimer, you don't have to like them like I do, with photography, especially I think like street type photography. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder idea. It really does hold true. So you don't have to like them. I'll just tell you what I think. I love this photo. One, you see so many cameras, right? And to me, there's everyone's attention is focused in the same direction. And you look at this and you just can't help but wonder, what are they looking at? Even though it's a still photo, you're dying to turn your head and look, back behind it over here, like, what are they looking at? You wish you could see what's behind my camera in this photo. And this is Dog Walk. So, I don't know if it was the mascot or cheerleaders or what. The team wasn't there yet. I like this one because you're sort of looking at this from the perspective of tailgating at one of the spots underneath the trees there in the junction. Guy all dressed up in his cool cowboy hat, sunglasses, and striped maroon and white overalls, smoke coming off the egg there, the grill, and everybody lined up behind it over there waiting on the dog walk. I really like this picture. So this guy, I don't know his name, but he was kind enough there to kind of just stand by while I took a photo of what he was grilling. And I noticed that this same guy on the same grill in the same spot was actually on television this weekend against Arizona. This is during the dog walk, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know this, but I'm pretty sure this is the family of one of the players. I think I saw Preston on their shirt, so maybe they're the family of Sean Preston. Here's what I like about this picture, the sword cowbell. This guy was really into ringing it, and he was focused on doing his part to create the atmosphere for the dog walk as the players came through. On a mission. That's what I titled this one, On a Mission. We don't know who it is, but it could be one of any several thousand of student age guys who, they hit the junction in the tailgating area early. You see his buddy out in front of him carrying a table. And I guess this is the last, decent photo I had from that first ball game, at least that I liked. And that was leaving the stadium at night, nobody in there, really late, getting out of there because of doing post-game. And it was just a really neat scene because, stadium's empty, just a few people down in the student section cleaning up, and it made for a really neat black and white photo. So here's some of the photos, a few from outside, but some from inside the stadium too, that I wanted to share with you from this past weekend. Now this one I really like because the light's really cool, waiting to check through the metal detectors whenever they're going to open the gates. And I think what you had here was the sun kind of coming over the top of the stadium, creating a little glare there on the photo coming through the tent. They're using that tent for shade. This was a photo up in the stadium, and I don't know who this was. I just assumed it was a fan who got in there really, really early somehow. Maybe these are his seats, and he was just sitting up in the shaded area, just staring out at the field and inside the stadium. This is pregame. This is probably at this time maybe close to 3 hours before kickoff, so there's really nobody in there but him. And then this is in our radio booth. I like this photo because it has our engineer, Ross Swanner, who's a great guy. Really love Ross, and he's there ready to go. It has to be really early. Everything's set up early. So what's interesting about this photo to me is I think it's appropriate because he's got everything hooked up, wires going everywhere, and that's what's in focus in the photo. And Ross is there, and he's a little bit out of focus, but that's kind of the way Ross approaches his job as the engineer. Like, focus on the work, focus on the broadcast, don't necessarily focus on him. And I think he would say that, even though he's a humongous part of it. And so it's sort of, in an artistic way, indicative of reality in that he does this really important job, but the focus is on the work and what's being done, and the focus is not necessarily on him. And Ross, a great guy, does a great job as an engineer. His mood and his attitude is always the same. And I just really liked the way this photo came out. And this is back outside the stadium this past weekend. A couple of band members. They got the new state script on their T-shirt walking, and got their instruments with them, and headed to kind of link up, I guess, with the rest of the band and then enter and do what they do. I really liked the way this photo came out. There's a group of people that are walking up. Love all the faces in this photo. The two folks on front kind of have, their eyes in different places, but they're both got grins on their faces. I don't know what they're talking about there. And then you got the two faces behind them that are real stone faced, got their mirror sunglasses on and no smiles and no expression. I just love all the variation in the faces of these people walking together here outside the stadium. One theme that I saw among people outside the stadium is phones. Everybody's looking at phones. And, I saw this, and this is an older guy who's outside of the depot, the Barnes & Noble bookstore in the depot, which is right next to the stadium. And I wondered if he was checking scores of other games. And I like this photo. I felt like the way it came out, that you could almost, if you wanted to, you could see it almost through a little bit of a comedic lens. There might be some humor in it, in that this is pretty typical too, right? Like for tailgating, it's usually dad who he's got a cooler over his shoulder. He's got a sack full of Raising Cane's chicken that he's taking with him. He's rolling a wagon behind him loaded down with stuff, utensils and plates and fans and paper towels. And like, dad's hauling all this stuff to the tailgate and going to set it up so that other people can enjoy it. It's almost like the dad's at the beach, This is a photo that, I just like it because everybody's on their phone. You got the foreground couple looking at a phone, and you got I guess they're each looking at their phones. And then, of course, in the background, you have the girl with orange hair. She's looking at her phone, and I think I've been spotted by the guy in the state hat. This one, you got a guy wearing a big piece of corn on his head, right? Like they do at Nebraska, and I don't know what the significance is of wearing it to a Mississippi State game. It looked like a student, and his buddy there is wearing a USA beer pong T-shirt, and they are, I guess, looking at a phone. Now, this is probably my favorite that in the last 2 weekends. I don't know this gentleman's name, but he obviously is a photographer, a staff photographer for Mississippi State, because he's got all the gear and the big lenses and the team gear that he's wearing, including the shoes and everything else. And this is up kind of on the tower on the southwest corner of the stadium where the ramp comes up and you come into the stadium. There's an elevator there, and it sort of overlooks the junction. So you're looking dead south through the lens of the camera. And he was up there kind of sniping some photos with that big camera and big lens, and he's wearing that cowboy hat and just kind of glancing off the edge of the stadium there, way up high, and then off in the distance you can see the water tower down there at South Farm. And it's just something about the depth in this photo and the light. I really like it. And this actually would be sort of, his view from up there atop the tower on the southwest corner of the stadium. You got the flagpole there looking out into the junction, which is the main tailgating area. And I really like this photo too. There's a lot of depth there. It being a black and white photo, you can't see the color of the tents, and so they all kind of look uniform. And you see where I think it's a good photo because the main subject, which is the people down there that kind of look like ants from up high, they are very well lit. The sun's shining on them. And this photo I like because it's looking through a couple of panes of glass from different boxes there in the press box over into the main media area. And you can kind of see what it looks like for them as they sit and look out the main big window from the press box. And when State comes into the stadium, they fire off, these big fire cannons, flamethrowers down there that they run through. You can feel the heat off those things from a long ways off, and it's a neat scene, very loud. I don't know that I've ever seen a black and white photo of that moment. I've seen some color photos and a lot of video of that moment. But I love this photo because you have the team coming out, and the flamethrower is sort of in mid-throw, and it's so much brighter than anything else in the photo. And you can really see that in black and white. You really notice it when in black and white and how it casts light on those cheerleaders that are just beyond and the team that's coming out of the tunnel. And all those people, with eyes on that and the gridiron full. I just really like this photo. Another one in the books. State, pretty fortunate to win it. Just made all the plays, and Jet Johnson was unbelievable. Bookie Watts and those two linebackers were unbelievable at times in the ball game. So